There's another way for us, for people to be able to see or to feel connected to Hashem, to come to closeness and to realize how much of a presence God is in our everyday life, and to realize how close He is to us and how close He is inside us. And this is what's called in Hebrew, it's called a chiddush. This is kind of a surprise, not typical, not what you expect. You know, the Gemara says something very interesting. If you want to know, how can you tell if a fish is kosher or not? How can you see a kosher fish? The famous gefilte fish, obviously the only way to know if it's kosher is if it has a carrot on top with a little red horseradish on the side. But there are other ways to tell if a fish is kosher. The Torah says specifically that if you look at the fins and scales on the fish, you could tell if it's kosher. But the Gemara says something fascinating. A fish that swims against the stream, a fish that goes against the flow, that itself is a sign that it's kosher. Why? Why does something that goes against the flow, why does that mean that it's kosher, that it's more pure? And the answer is because the Jewish people always go against the flow. Because the ability to defy nature, the ability to go one way when everybody else is going another way, that's Jewish. That's kosher. That's God. It's a certain amount of hand of Hashem, a certain amount of miracle that gives the Jew the ability to do that. Abraham was called Avraham HaIvri. Ivri is from the word Hebrew, comes from the word Ivri. But in truth, what it means is Ivri, he was on the other side. Because when the whole world was going one way, in denial of God or idol worship, Avram was going the opposite way. There's a famous joke that this old Jewish man, Harry Goldstein, is driving the wrong way on a one-way highway. And everyone's beeping at him. And his wife calls him. She's like, Harry, what's the matter, Hinda? There's a news report, and the news report says that somebody's driving a Cadillac the wrong way down a one-way highway. I'm just making sure it's not you. So he says, yeah, I heard it also, but the highway I'm driving on, it's not just one person going the wrong way, the whole highway's going the wrong way. A person to be able to go against the stream is not easy. What gives a person the ability to do that in life, and we're not talking about driving, what gives a person the ability to do that in life, to go against the forces of nature, and we're not talking about flying like Superman. We're talking about the forces that bring a person down emotionally and spiritually. A person who has that ability, if he wants to know where he gets that power, that's from God. That's God working, not him. I'll tell you something interesting. There's something in the world called addiction. Addiction is when a person has something that pulls him, that controls him, that controls his life, his mind, his emotions. He needs a certain thing and he cannot control that urge or that desire, that need or that want. The books tell us, and I'm talking about books about psychology and addiction, that a person who is a true addict will give up family, money, love, his job. There is nothing that has importance to him when he is suffering from his addiction. Nothing has any significance except the thing that he is addicted to. Whether it's cigarettes, or it's drugs, or it's alcohol, or it's internet, or it's shopping. That is a force that is so powerful. It sucks him in like a vacuum, like a whirlpool, and he has no ability to control it. When a person loses control, that is called addiction. And there exists something called the 12-step program. The 12-step program has helped hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to overcome their addiction. It's not a religious program. It has nothing to do with religion. But the first 4 steps of the 12-step program have to do with realizing that there is a power greater than you and learning that the only way to overcome that power is if you connect to God, who is greater than the power that controls you. Because the only way to go against the flow, the only way to defy those forces that are so powerful is if God does it. Because you can't. We as humans are vulnerable. We as humans, we're sucked in. We don't have the power. We don't have the ability. The only way for a person to control, to overcome, to go against the forces that are sucking him in is if he had God with him. That's it. This is why the kosher fish, the fish that we eat, is the one that goes against the stream. Because going against the stream, defying the forces of nature, going against the flow, that's something holy. That's something that God does that we don't do. If a person, whatever addiction he may have, or whatever forces that may bring him down in this world, whether they be emotional, for example, depression, whether they be spiritual, for example, sins, or succumbing to your Yetzer Hara, to your evil inclination. The Gemara tells us, Ilmale Hashem Oizrai, Eina Yachalai. If Hashem doesn't help you to overcome your Yetzer Hara, to overcome your evil inclination, Eina Yachalai, then you cannot do it. It is impossible. Ask any addict or former addict. Is it easy? Is it possible to overcome your addiction? It's impossible. You need a miracle. You need the hand of God. If you want to see God in the world, if you want to believe in God, you want to have faith that there is a God and He's close to you, then look at yourself. Look at the ability that you have to overcome difficulties. Look at the ability that you have, the power that you have to control yourself. Whether it's controlling your anger, whether it's controlling your desires, overcoming temptation. It could be overeating. It could be hatred to somebody. It could be addictions. It could be smoking. It could be alcohol. Whatever it is, if you want to find God in your life, if you want to discover God close to you, how connected you are, then when you realize that you have the ability, the miraculous power of control over yourself, even one time, even when one time the forces are going against you and you're able to fight, that's God, that's not you. That's miraculous. That's the hand of Hashem. If a person wants to realize how close he is to God, look inside yourself. Look at what you have. Look at the ability that you have to conquer, to overcome any inclination, any desire, any temptation. When you have that ability, when you use that ability, then God is right there with you. The Kabbalists, the great rabbis, have told us that one of the most important and prime times to pray to God is right after a person overcomes his evil inclination, his Yetzer Hara. Why? Because God did it. Because it's God, it's Hashem that gives you that power. And the second He gave you that power to fight, to overcome, right then, He's right next to you. He's inside you. Take advantage and pray now, because He's right here. Imagine if a person needs that cigarette, he needs that drink, he needs the fix, he's burning with anger, and he shuts his mouth, and he decides, no, I'm going to fight it, I'm going to go against, I'm going to defy it. That's God doing it. That's Hashem. Right now, when Hashem's right here, when He's in your heart, in your mind, now pray. Now ask God. Say, Hashem, you're so close to me. You've given me the miraculous power to control, to overcome. Now, God, please hear my prayer and answer me in the other things I need to. You want to discover God? Look inside yourself.